It's a very violent scene. We were rehearsing. It's hysterical, and I'm kind of screaming, and there was...
You put me down! Put me down.
King Kong is my first IMDb credit.
'Twas beauty that killed the beast. But in 1976, King Kong wasn't just a monster movie. It was a Hollywood gamble wrapped in malfunctioning robots, screaming crowds, and chaotic ambition that nearly collapsed under its own weight. One robot cost millions but barely appeared. One crowd scene shut down New York's Twin Towers. And one giant foot almost crushed Charles Grodin for real. These are 40 strangest facts about King Kong. But wait till the end, because the bonus fact reveals how Kong somehow found himself a wife. So hold on tight, because this time, nostalgia is about to climb too high and fall even harder.
Hello. Everything's fine.
Fact 1. The $2 million robot that barely appeared.
Let's not get eaten alive on this island. Bring the mosquito spray!
1976, Dino De Laurentiis unveils his Ace, a 40-foot animatronic Kong costing up to $2 million. Built to revolutionize monster movies, it weighed 6 tons and required a warehouse of hydraulics. Press dubbed it the 8th wonder of the world, even before filming began. But when the cameras rolled, disaster struck. The robot moved stiffly, leaked fluids, and malfunctioned constantly. Instead of dominating the movie, it limped into only 15 seconds of screen time, a humiliating payoff for such spectacle. Audiences thought they were seeing groundbreaking technology. What they really got was Rick Baker in a gorilla suit. The consequence? The robot became one of cinema's most infamous boondoggles, proving that hype doesn't always survive first contact with reality. Fact 2. He's leaking in front of everyone.
Listen, I said that pool might be oil. We can't be sure until I get a sample and test it.
During the stadium scene, De Laurentiis staged his grand reveal, the giant robot Kong before thousands of extras. It should have been the triumphal showcase. Instead, horror. Mid-shoot, a hydraulic line ruptured down the robot's leg, spraying oil and fluid in front of cast, crew, and paying onlookers. Reports say someone yelled, "He's leaking!" while extras pointed and laughed. The malfunction forced a halt, wasting hours and burning money. The spectacle that was meant to cement Kong as cutting edge turned him into a national punchline. Worse, it confirmed what the crew already knew. The mechanical beast wasn't trustworthy. For a film selling realism, its most expensive prop collapsed into farce. The result? A scene designed for awe became one of cinema's most notorious on-set embarrassments. Fact 3. The giant hand nearly killed its star. For close-ups, Rambaldi built 2 enormous mechanical hands to cradle Jessica Lange's Dwan. Impressive in theory, terrifying in practice, one test left stuntwoman Sunny Woods dangling when the wrist joint snapped 10 feet above ground. Later, Lange herself suffered bruising and pinching when the temperamental hand clamped unpredictably. Each shot became a gamble. Would the hand behave, or would it crush its star? Production limped forward, adjusting grip pressure and padding. But behind the spectacle, the fear was real. Cast and crew began joking nervously about dying for Dino. The consequence? Even the film's most iconic visual, the beauty in the hand of the beast, was born of mechanical chaos that risked real human lives. Fact 4. Did they build 2 right hands?
It's obviously the cloud bank. And landing on the beach of the skull, where he heard the roar of the greatest beast.
In the scramble to finish, reports emerged that Rambaldi's team accidentally constructed 2 right hands instead of a left and right. Imagine the panic. Millions spent and no left hand for close-ups. Some insiders denied it, saying gossip exaggerated the fiasco. But Charles Grodin swore in his memoir it happened. Whether myth or mishap, the story stuck, fueling the perception of King Kong as a comedy of errors. If true, the fix required last-minute retooling, slowing an already troubled shoot. Even if false, its persistence shows how chaotic the set seemed from the outside. The consequence? A production defined less by its triumphs than by the endless rumors of things going laughably, impossibly wrong. Fact 5. The night 30,000 people shut down New York.
Dad! Oh, I'm so glad to see you.
When Kong climbs the World Trade Center, the production promised scale. They got it. Too much. Over 30,000 New Yorkers crowded the plaza to witness the spectacle. The weight terrified the Port Authority, which feared the ground might not hold. Police shut filming down for safety, forcing cast and crew to flee. De Laurentiis bragged about publicity, but the chaos cost dearly. Extras had to be rehired later, and the movie's biggest set piece became a civic nightmare. The irony? The final film cuts around the madness, hiding how close the shoot came to disaster. The consequence? Kong may have ruled the towers, but in real life, the crowd nearly toppled the production. Fact 6. A poster promised what the film never did.
What is it? What?
John Berkey's iconic painting sold millions on a lie. The poster shows Kong straddling both twin towers at once, 1 foot on each, jets roaring past. The image is spectacular, but impossible. No such shot exists. Why? Because Berkey painted it before filming began. Marketing ignored physics for hype, and audiences walked in expecting a scene that never came. To this day, many swear they saw Kong spanning both towers in the movie, a false memory planted by the poster. The consequence? The art became more famous than the film itself, proving how marketing can overwrite reality in pop culture memory. Fact 7. Rick Baker was King Kong. When the robot failed, the production turned to Rick Baker, a young effects artist who donned a custom gorilla suit. He performed almost every Kong shot, running, climbing, fighting, while drenched in sweat inside air-cooled tubing. His movements gave Kong more life than any machine. Yet Baker wasn't credited properly. The Oscar went to Rambaldi's special effects. Baker later said the snub haunted him, though it propelled his career toward An American Werewolf in London and beyond. The irony? The film's most human performance was hidden inside a mask, unrecognized. The consequence? A generation remembers the robot, but it was really a man who made Kong roar. Fact 8. Optimus Prime roared for Kong.
No, you didn't.
You mean I didn't? Look at me.
You're not in a hole. That's a footprint.
Kong's voice wasn't a gorilla at all. It was Peter Cullen, yes, the future voice of Optimus Prime, grunting, roaring, and shrieking into a microphone. Cullen reportedly tore his throat growling so fiercely to capture animalistic rage. He wasn't credited on release, but fans later discovered his secret contribution. The revelation shocked audiences. The same man who declared, "Autobots, roll out," also gave Kong his primal screams. The consequence? It added yet another surreal twist to a production already bursting with contradictions, where robots failed, suits succeeded, and an uncredited voice actor gave the beast its soul. Fact 9. The lawsuit that nearly killed Kong.
I'm personally working on a deal for Balanchine to choreograph the Beauty and the Beast.
Before cameras rolled, King Kong was already a courtroom drama. Universal Pictures claimed Kong was public domain and announced The Legend of King Kong. Dino De Laurentiis struck back, insisting Paramount had exclusive rights. The battle escalated into one of Hollywood's nastiest lawsuits of the 1970s, with countersuits flying until a January 1976 truce. Universal backed down, Dino marched forward. The irony? The legal fireworks generated more headlines than early production, giving Dino exactly what he craved: hype. The consequence? Kong was branded a blockbuster before a single frame was shot. The monster wasn't just climbing towers, he was scaling the walls of the legal system, proving Hollywood's fiercest battles often happen in courtrooms, not on screen. Fact 10. Recycled roars from the 1950s.
And you're building monkey traps. Jesus, Wilson, you're playing with their lives.
Kong's terrifying scream wasn't new at all. Sound designers lifted his roar from the land unknown 1957, recycling a B-movie creature effect. It was Hollywood thrift at its finest. Instead of creating something original for Dino's biggest production ever, they raided the archives. For casual audiences, the roar felt primal. For cinephiles, it was déjà vu. Kong, sold as revolutionary, was literally roaring with another monster's voice. The consequence? A film hyped as the future of special effects leaned on the past. Fans expecting something groundbreaking instead got a sound effect nearly 2 decades old. It's a reminder. In Hollywood, even giant apes sometimes borrow their voices from ghosts of forgotten creatures. Fact 11. Crowd scene gone wrong.
Beach Greeter Carnahan, report back immediately. Do nothing to endanger Kong. Acknowledge.
That record-breaking 30,000 person crowd around the World Trade Center didn't just shut production, it created chaos on the streets of New York. Police scrambled as fans broke through barriers, chanting and climbing lampposts to see the action. Cameramen couldn't move. Actors were jostled by overeager fans. In the middle of this, Dino De Laurentiis fumed as precious shooting hours evaporated. Eventually, officials pulled the plug, terrified the plaza itself might collapse under the weight. To salvage the sequence, Paramount had to restage with a smaller paid crowd days later. The consequence? A film about a beast run amok found its real monster in uncontrolled publicity. The city itself nearly swallowed the movie whole. Fact 12. The foot that almost crushed Charles Grodin.
Because of someone that was stolen off that gorgeous island and locked up in that lousy oil tank.
Charles Grodin, who played sleazy oil exec Fred Wilson, got dangerously close to being literally crushed by Kong. For the Petrox Plaza sequence, Rambaldi's crew built a full-scale mechanical foot weighing thousands of pounds to stomp near him. But the rig misfired, slamming down inches from Grodin's face. The actor reportedly froze in terror as the crew screamed for a stop. In the final cut, it looks like a perfect gag. Villain meets ape's wrath. Behind the scenes, it was nearly a fatal accident. The consequence? Grodin's comedic performance got a very real edge of fear. Proof that sometimes movie magic is born of actors genuinely fearing for their lives. Fact 13. Where did the dinosaurs go?
All right, we'll buy the chief. We'll get him to put his thumbprint on a treaty. What we got on board that those wogs would go for?
Unlike the 1933 classic, this Kong meets no dinosaurs. Why? Screenwriter Lorenzo Semple Jr. decided Skull Island didn't need them. He wanted to strip the story down to Kong and Dwan, Beauty and the Beast, without prehistoric distractions. The decision was partly artistic, partly budgetary. Dinosaurs were too expensive to realize convincingly. Instead, we get a single giant snake. Fans expecting Brontosaurus chases felt cheated, but Semple defended his choice, calling it a modern fable, not a pulp monster mash. The consequence? The 1976 film stands out as the only Kong entry where the ape fights no dinosaurs, just one very rubbery boa constrictor, an omission still debated by fans today. Fact 14. The snake that weighed 80 pounds. That giant snake fight might look silly, but the prop itself was anything but lightweight. Built of rubber and foam with internal supports, the boa reportedly weighed around 80 pounds. Rick Baker, inside the Kong suit, had to wrestle it in full costume under blazing lights. The sequence became one of the film's most grueling shoots. Baker drenched in sweat, muscles straining, fighting what was essentially an anaconda made of lead. On screen, it plays as a cheesy spectacle. Behind the scenes, it was borderline torture for the man inside the mask. The consequence? The snake scene is remembered as both the film's weakest fight and the moment that nearly broke its performer. Fact 15. Why the Twin Towers?
Look, the minute I've had it, I'm gonna pitch camp at the first level ground.
What are you, a bunch of old ladies? Come on, we're getting our second win. Let's get going.
Kong's legendary climb shifted from the Empire State Building to the World Trade Center. Why? By 1976, the towers had become New York's new icons, taller and more modern than their 1930s predecessor. Dino and Semple wanted Kong updated for a new age, trading Depression-era grit for shiny corporate glass. It was also practical. The Port Authority was eager for publicity and granted access, something the Empire State management resisted. The choice forever linked the film to its era, a snapshot of New York ambition in the 70s. The consequence? The 1976 Kong isn't remembered for Skull Island. It's remembered for those two towers, frozen in history long before their tragic destruction. Fact 16. The $10 million marketing blitz.
And it said that I was gonna cross over water and meet the biggest person in my life.
Before audiences saw a frame, Dino De Laurentiis spent $10 million on marketing, unprecedented at the time. Teaser posters, TV spots, and massive print campaigns flooded the public consciousness for a year. It was more than hype, it was a cultural takeover. Kids wore Kong t-shirts, adults debated the remake in newspapers. By release, it felt less like a movie and more like a national event. The consequence? King Kong, 1976, may not have outgrossed Jaws, but it proved the modern blockbuster era wasn't just about movies. It was about marketing juggernauts. Without Kong's campaign, later spectacles like Star Wars might not have rolled out with such force. Fact 17. Building Kong was like the space program.
Go on, please, come on. You can't help him now.
Jack, don't come any closer.
Special effects wizard Carlo Rambaldi bragged that constructing the 40-foot mechanical Kong was like the space program. It required steel frames, hydraulic pistons, and a warehouse-sized workshop in Rome. Engineers treated the project like launching a rocket. The hype was enormous. Magazines showed blueprints, promising audiences a living, breathing metal ape. But when the robot arrived on set, it lumbered, leaked, and terrified crew more than it impressed. What was supposed to be Hollywood's moon landing became Hollywood's Hindenburg. The consequence? Rambaldi's boast backfired, proving that technical marvels mean little if they don't work when the cameras roll. Fact 18. Jessica Lange's brutal baptism.
I bet you're an Aries, aren't you? Of course you are. I just knew it.
King Kong, 1976, was Jessica Lange's film debut, but instead of glamour, she got bruises, terror, and exhaustion. Trapped in a faulty giant hand, she endured pinching metal joints. On location in Hawaii, she shivered on rafts and clung to cliffs as surf pounded. Crew joked she was being baptized into Hollywood the hard way. Yet Lange never broke. She delivered charm and vulnerability despite constant discomfort. By the premiere, she'd transformed from unknown model into Golden Globe winner. The consequence? The chaos that nearly crushed her career instead forged her into one of the most respected actresses of her generation. Fact 19. Dino said Kong would beat Jaws. Producer Dino De Laurentiis was never shy. He told the press his Kong would make audiences cry more than Jaws. That's right, he promised an ape would outdo a shark in sheer emotion. Publicists amplified the boast, turning it into a marketing war between Dino's monster and Spielberg's. When the film finally opened, it did very well, $90 million worldwide, but nowhere near Jaws' dominance. The consequence? Dino's exaggeration turned into a running joke in Hollywood. Still, his swagger showed the growing belief that movies weren't just entertainment, they were competitions in hype, heartstrings, and box office dominance. Fact 20, the Vatican map that disappeared.
And that's why I was up on deck by myself when the yacht exploded.
An early draft of the script included a wild subplot. Explorers discover the route to Skull Island in a map hidden in the Vatican Library. Imagine priests unlocking secrets that lead to dinosaurs and giant apes. Writer Lorenzo Semple Jr. quickly scrapped it, calling it too far-fetched even for a movie about a skyscraper climbing gorilla. But the concept lingered in production notes, a reminder of how close Kong came to wearing a halo. The consequence? Fans later dug up the detail, laughing at how a Hollywood blockbuster nearly opened with papal librarians as the key to finding the world's biggest monster. Fact 21. Filming the death scene felt like war. Kong's fall from the World Trade Center was a nightmare to film. Helicopters roared, flamethrowers blazed, and hundreds of extras screamed as crews battled freezing winds. Actors described the night as a mini-war, with prop explosions echoing across lower Manhattan. Police shut down surrounding blocks, forcing traffic detours. Cameramen fought frostbite while Lange clung to harness rigs under floodlights. For New Yorkers, it looked like chaos raining down from the towers. The consequence? The death sequence became unforgettable, not only on screen, but in the city itself. A civic event burned into memory long before audiences ever saw it in theaters. Fact 22. Kong's face was more human than machine.
Congratulations, you're now this expedition's official photographer.
The robot might have flopped, but Rick Baker's suit masks carried the movie. Baker designed interchangeable faces, snarling, sad, curious, each swapped mid-shoot to give Kong emotions the animatronic couldn't. Tiny servos and cables twitched brows and lips for close-ups. Viewers saw pathos in Kong's eyes, unaware it was a sweaty man swapping masks between takes. Rambaldi won Oscars for his mechanical designs, but it was Baker's artistry that sold the illusion of a thinking beast. The consequence? Audiences who teared up at Kong's death weren't moved by machinery. They were moved by a man inside latex who made the monster human. Fact 23. The $300,000 static Kong.
Airdrop done, right on target.
Terrific. All right, move it, man. Haul your asses. Get that equipment up to the wall and working.
Not content with the robot and suit, Dino also commissioned a full-size static Kong for a single shot, costing another $300,000. It had no moving parts, just a towering prop looming for effect. Crews spent days assembling it, only to use it for seconds of footage. Critics later blasted it as wasteful excess. But Dino defended the decision, arguing you can't put a price on spectacle. The consequence? The static Kong became an expensive ghost of Hollywood ambition, a reminder that sometimes more just means more money burned for less screen time. Fact 24. Satire, hidden in an oil crisis.
You want to start setting seismic charges this morning, huh?
Absolutely.
Unlike the 1933 original, this remake made its expedition a corporate venture by Petrox Oil. The 1970s were plagued by gas shortages, and Dino's Kong leaned straight into the zeitgeist. Instead of explorers chasing adventure, they were oilmen chasing profit. It was satire disguised as pulp. Audiences laughed at Grodin's pompous speeches, but the message was sharp. Greed, not curiosity, drives modern exploration. The consequence? King Kong, 1976, became the only version where the beast isn't just a metaphor for nature's fury. It's also a hairy fiery middle finger to the oil industry. Fact 25. Kong fell short of Jaws at the box office.
Crazy, is he? Wait till those candy asses in New York hear about this one.
When King Kong opened in December 1976, Dino expected it to crush Spielberg's Jaws. It did well, $90.6 million worldwide on a $23 million budget, but Jaws had grossed nearly triple. Critics noted that Kong wasn't a flop, but the marketing had overhyped it as a world-changing event. Still, for Paramount, it was their biggest hit of the year and proved blockbusters could sell as much on hype as content. The consequence? Dino learned that money talks louder than monsters, unless your monster is a shark that refuses to stay in the water. Fact 26. The odd Oscar outcome.
It's not someone. It's an animal, a beast to try to rape you.
At the 1977 Academy Awards, Kong didn't win standard visual effects. It got a Special Achievement Oscar, shared with Logan's Run. The irony? Rambaldi received recognition for the animatronic robot that barely worked, while Rick Baker in the suit went uncredited. Fans later argued Baker's raw performance deserved the award. The consequence? It spotlighted the politics of Hollywood awards, where marketing and myth sometimes outweigh the sweat of the performers who made the illusion work. Kong roared, but the man behind the mask never got his statue. Fact 27. Hawaii became Skull Island.
Interesting. We're in a lateral surface current 18 degrees cooler than the air.
The lush cliffs of Kauai's Napali coast doubled as Skull Island. Towering sea arches and rugged jungle gave the movie a natural grandeur. But filming wasn't paradise. Helicopters struggled with wind currents, equipment corroded in salty air, and storms wrecked sets. Cast members clung to slippery rocks while waves threatened to sweep them away. What looked like breathtaking adventure on screen was, in reality, survivalist filmmaking. The consequence? Hawaii gave Kong its beauty, but nearly drowned its crew in the process, proving Skull Island was dangerous even without dinosaurs. Fact 28. The robot versus suit feud. Behind the scenes, a quiet feud raged. Carlo Rambaldi's robot versus Rick Baker's suit. Dino hyped the robot in interviews, sidelining Baker's contribution. Rambaldi won the Oscar, but Baker's performance sold the movie. Industry insiders still argue, was Kong remembered for metal or latex? Decades later, Baker admitted frustration at being overshadowed, but the work launched his career. The consequence? The feud highlights Hollywood's obsession with machines, even when it's the human touch that gives monsters their soul. Fact 29. John Gillerman's famous outburst.
In the air!
Director John Gillerman was known for temper, but on Kong, he took it up a notch. Crew members recalled public screaming matches, even with Dino himself. Some days Gillerman erupted at actors, other days he stormed off set entirely. Yet despite chaos, he pushed through, balancing spectacle with story. Lange later admitted his intensity added to her own stress, but it also sharpened performances. The consequence? Kong's behind-the-scenes drama was as fiery as the flamethrowers in its finale, proving great art sometimes comes from very loud arguments. Fact 30. Jessica Lange became a star overnight.
When I was 10 years old, they took me up in the Empire State Building and I got sick in the elevator.
Jessica Lange went from unknown model to Golden Globe New Star of the Year thanks to Kong. Critics were divided on her acting, but audiences loved her vulnerability and charisma. Overnight, she went from walking fashion runways to Hollywood red carpets. While Kong didn't launch her flawlessly, she later admitted years of typecasting. It gave her the platform for a career that eventually won 2 Oscars. The consequence? The giant ape that nearly crushed her career also lifted her to stardom. Fact 31. Kong's year 2369, sort of.
Wait a minute, you trying to tell me there's people on this island?
Yes, I am.
Here's a quirky footnote. Promotional material briefly suggested Kong represented the future of cinematic spectacle, and even jokingly tied him to the year 2369. While not part of the film's canon, the PR spin was typical of Dino's team. Sell Kong as timeless, futuristic, and unkillable. The joke backfired when critics mocked it as hollow marketing fluff. The consequence? Kong didn't come from the future, but the campaign showed how far Dino would go to make a 1930s monster feel like 1970s science fiction. Fact 32. The 16-episode TV cut. When NBC aired King Kong in 1978, they didn't just broadcast it, they stretched it. The TV version added nearly 45 minutes of footage, including longer snake fights, extra dialogue, and extended WTC shots. Fans were stunned. The movie they remembered had been remixed into a bloated mini-epic. Some loved the deeper dive, others called it a television monstrosity. The consequence? Kong lived 2 lives, one in theaters, leaner and flawed, and one on TV, swollen and strange. Fact 33. Saturdays belong to Kong.
Till then, you'd get better mileage filling up your Cadillac with mule piss.
When Paramount scheduled King Kong for release in December 1976, ABC slotted reruns and coverage around it, treating it like an event. The Saturday opening wasn't just a movie, it was a ritual. Families lined up around blocks in freezing weather, some theaters even running midnight screenings. Critics may have groaned, but kids and teenagers saw it as the cinematic equivalent of a rock concert. The consequence? Kong's opening weekend redefined event cinema, showing studios that spectacle could dominate specific weekends long before Marvel and Star Wars made it routine. Fact 34, the Croft Super Show connection.
The only difference is the pyramids weren't repaired 6 months ago. You'll notice there's earth chipping those timbers.
After its theatrical run, King Kong 1976 footage and promotion found second life tucked into the Croft Super Show marketing machine. Merchandising crossovers and Saturday TV packages kept the ape visible years after box office receipts dried up. For younger audiences, Kong wasn't a failed blockbuster. It was part of their Saturday morning cartoon world. The consequence? Kong's reputation survived because of TV recycling, embedding the film in pop culture even as critics dismissed it. Fact 35. Syndication kept him alive.
Who's taking her?
Someone's taking her.
Who the hell do you think went through there? Some guy in an ape suit?
From 1978 to 1985, King Kong 1976 lived on in syndication packages like Croft Superstars. Local stations replayed it relentlessly, turning Dino's Gamble into a minor cult fixture. Viewers who hadn't seen the movie in theaters discovered it years later on late-night TV. Some even confused it with the 1933 original, proof the ape had blurred identities across decades. The consequence? What critics called a misfire became nostalgic comfort food for a generation raised on television reruns. Fact 36, chemistry in chaos.
I can't stand it! Honest, I can't.
Jared Johnson, Jack Prescott, and Jessica Lange, Dwan, weren't supposed to click, but their on-screen chemistry became the human anchor of the film. Their banter gave the movie warmth amid chaos. Behind the scenes though, long days and freezing shoots strained everyone. Yet Johnson and Lange played it straight, grounding scenes that could have tipped into parody. The consequence? Even in a movie about malfunctioning robots and collapsing towers, it was the human chemistry that gave audiences a reason to care when Kong finally fell. Fact 37, the World Trade Center as a time capsule.
Hold on! Close your eyes! The helicopters are coming to net him!
In 1976, the World Trade Center was brand new, symbols of modern power. For Kong to climb them was a statement. The ape of the Depression now battled 1970s corporate steel. Filming there tied the movie forever to a specific moment in New York history. Decades later, those final shots became haunting artifacts after 9/11. The consequence? What was once spectacle turned into tragic foreshadowing, ensuring the 1976 Kong is remembered as much for cultural context as for cinematic chaos. Fact 38, Rambaldi's hands did the heavy lifting.
Please put me down.
While the 40-foot robot failed, Rambaldi's giant hands were a different story. Fully articulated with moving fingers, they handled most close-ups with Lange. When they worked, the results were magical. Dwan nestled in Kong's palm, audiences gasped. When they failed, crew members scrambled to free bruised actors. Despite mixed performance, the hands became iconic images plastered across posters and magazines. The consequence? They proved that sometimes the simplest practical effects outshine the grandest mechanical monstrosities. Fact 39, the doppelganger cast.
Hey, Jack. You know, maybe it's him.
Him?
Fred Wilson.
Both Jim Nabors and Ruth Buzzy, better known for TV comedy, were hired to play minor roles and look-alike figures during reshoots. Though barely noticeable, their presence gave sharp-eyed viewers déjà vu. They were everywhere. It was an economical solution to casting shortages, but also lent the film an odd theatrical vibe, as if the same faces kept reappearing in Kong's world. The consequence? It highlighted how a prestige blockbuster sometimes looked more like a patched-together stage play. Fact 40, Kong found a wife. If the 1976 remake seemed wild, its sequel went further. In 1986's King Kong Lives, doctors resurrect Kong with a mechanical heart, then give him a mate. Yes, Kong got a wife, Lady Kong, in a storyline more soap opera than monster movie. Critics howled, audiences stayed away, and Dino's dream collapsed. But the sequel retroactively made the 1976 film seem restrained by comparison. The consequence? Kong's legacy wasn't just climbing towers, it was proving that Hollywood will marry off even its greatest monsters if there's a chance to cash in.